Hi, welcome to the Cloud Guru channel. In today's video, we will look at how should freshers prepare for their IT jobs. What do we mean by freshers? It means people who have just passed out of college or are in their final year of engineering or MCA or their BSc IT services graduation. Now, please subscribe to my channel and give a thumbs up if you like my videos. See, from a graduate hire or freshers perspective, if you are looking for a job, there are two ways of getting in. One is campus hire. That is something which is very privileged people get that. Now, campus hiring doesn't happen from all the colleges. So if you happen to be studying in a college where the campus selection is none, or if the campus selection is maybe 20%, 50%, up to something of 70%, then a lot of people will have to go through off campus. Off campus means you're out of college and you're trying to get a job. And this is the toughest part where getting into a job becomes relatively difficult compared to campus. Now, believe me, a lot of people at that stage consider that since I could not make it to the campus selection process, that means I am not worth it, and their confidence levels goes down. But believe me, there is no such thing. I have seen the world for more than 2 decades. It is all about the passion which you carry to get into the jobs. Getting into a job is just campus selection is just a foot inside the door. Once you get inside the door, this world is very different. Your acads is not of much use. Your percentage, I mean the grades that you have scored, that is not of much use. The world starts fresh and you get opportunities to improve on the mistakes you made in the past. So the question comes, what should we prepare? See, obviously, there are companies which have aptitude tests, group discussions. This video is not targeting those two phases. What we are targeting here is once you clear those two phases and get into the interview process, then how should you prepare? See, clearing the aptitude test is uh, almost easy because I know students, they have gone through those studying materials to clear the aptitude tests. For group discussions, you need good comm skills and a thorough understanding of several topics. But let's understand for the interview what is required. See, I will teach you through 5 tips. These 5 tips, simple 5 tips, will help you prepare for the interview. Whether you are attending this in the campus hiring process or in the off-campus hiring process. The first thing is coding language. Remember, you should be expert at one coding language. At your level, at a student level, you should be not operating at a basic level, but you should operate at close to intermediate levels. Without an understanding of a coding language, it will be difficult for the evaluator to understand your skills, especially if you are trying to get into the IT domain. You can use any programming language, maybe C Sharp, C++, Python, or Java. Okay, but try to gain a good handle over it. A lot of time when I'm going through different forums, blogs, and etc., I see people are very unprepared. They say that they did some coding in their second year, but now they don't remember. So do not come to the interviews that way because you're setting up yourself for failures. Your coding skills should be at an intermediate level, and you should have written some relatively complex programs for a student level for the interviewer or the evaluator to appreciate your skills. Now, what does that mean? Your coding skills should be at intermediate levels. You should be able to at least explain two programs which were complex at your level, at a student level. You should be expert at creating workflows of the programs. Suppose the interviewer gives you a new sort of program to test your knowledge. You should understand the workflow and you should be able to draw that flow, at the flow chart. You should be able to do that. Okay? And then you should remember some syntaxes because you can be quizzed around the syntaxes. If you take care of this, then there are chances that the interviewer will get impressed. Project is the next thing which is very important. Okay? And this is a second tip I'm giving. Be very serious with the project you're doing. Some people do one project, some people do two projects. Okay? Two projects would be better than one project because you get an opportunity to show the width and the breadth of your experience. When we talk about projects, we should always remember what is the project all about. See, interviewers, they keep screaming to understand why did we pick that project? What was the business relevance, industry relevance for this project? Or did you just pick this for the heck of it just because you had to do some project in the seventh and the eighth semester? Did you do it that way? So always pick a project which is linked to the latest cutting edge technologies and have some business or industry relevance. That means try to solve a business problem. It doesn't matter if somebody has already solved it. The whole idea is if you are trying to solve it, how would you solve it? And one more tip I would like to give is during the interview, it would help to a great extent if you are able to say that, you know what, suppose I created a geospatial mapping system. This mapping system has been already created, and how my mapping system is different from that mapping system is they have based their mapping system on these languages. I have based it on these languages and these products. That mapping system was like totally cloud based. I have made it a bit of a hybrid cloud based. You can try to differentiate. That way, the interviewer gets a feel that you have depth of the technical skills. Be very specific as to what was your role on the project. You have explained what the project is all about, what is the business relevance. Now, what you did specifically. Okay, please steer away from this feeling. A lot of people get into the interview and they try to be rock stars. They say, I did designing, I did development, I did front end, back end. So, what was your team doing? So, that is a very bad way of representing things because that shows that you tried to be involved, get involved in all of those phases, but you didn't master one piece of that component. So, be very specific. What was your particular role? If you think you spent effort in designing the system, then you will have to tell what did you design and what were the deliverables that you produced, the design effort. Did you produce a technical design document? Did you produce some architectures? Okay? And do not put generic roles like I was coordinating because that stands no value when you are getting through the campus hiring process or off campus hiring process because that becomes too generic. Nobody would hire you at a graduate hire level from an engineering college for performing project management or project lead work. There is a specific hierarchy. You have to get into the entry level first. You have to understand the system, live, breathe the system for 2-3 years before you move up the ladder. If you are planning to do MBAs, that is a different thing. If you're coming from an MBA background, that's a different thing. Then you can show some flavor of it, but only some flavor. You cannot go deep saying that I only did coordination. And if you are not able to prove your metal with the understanding of the technical architectures, etc., then it doesn't work. So try to make sure that you're using cloud platforms and cloud services in your project. See, nowadays, if you have done it, if you're able to answer basics, you would straight away get through into campus hiring processes, whether it be TCS, Tech Mahindras, Infosys, Wipro, any of these players, Accenture, Cognizant, you can get through easily. Okay. Always ensure that you are doing something on cloud. Now, people might ask, as a student, I have cost pressures. I do not have money to invest. The answer to that is, since you don't have money, that is the reason you should do projects on cloud, because you would only pay on a pay per use model. That is only OPEX cost. That is cheaper. You pay only for what you have used. Plus, you get the advantage of performing things on a cloud platform. That counts a lot nowadays in the interviews. Another important tip is you should champion your subject. What it means is a lot of time nowadays, if you see people from core engineering backgrounds, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, uh, electronics and telecom, electrical engineers, they all apply for IT jobs because they just get lured with the possibilities of working in a multinational culture. Plus, they think there would be still possibilities of going abroad. Okay, so that's the reason. Even if you're trying for an IT job, and if you are an electrical engineer or if you are a telecom engineer, so champion your subject. For example, if you're an electrical engineer, okay, so try to understand how does IT blend with electricity, how it blends with that utilities sector, how it blends with that. What it means is understand, for example, there are traditional ways of energy, then there are renewable ways of energy like solar, battery power, windmills, and so on. So, how can that be merged with the traditional energies to relay and distribute energies across homes, and how can the cost be brought down? If we have to do it, what kind of automation and what kind of IT systems needs to be built to achieve this goal? How can we reduce the carbon footprint in this world? That is what all of the utilities sectors are trying. So if you champion your subject, that means that you have done your engineering properly. Nobody cares for your marks. Frankly speaking, I have been in this industry for a long time. I do not care for your marks because marks just means that you are able to mug up certain things and reproduce at that moment of time. I want people who are adept at performing a lot of researches, who would toil an extra mile to produce some of the technical papers. They like being technical. They are not doing engineering just for the heck of it. So that's how, even if you're not from a good engineering college where campus selection doesn't happen, still, if you follow these tips, you could crack any multinational companies' interviews. Prepare and rehearse for your interviews. When you're preparing for the interviews, make a structure. For example, a common question would be introduce yourself. So, how would you like to introduce yourself? Would you like to tell that I am from Telangana, this district, and I have two sisters, one brother? Would you like to tell that in the first go? Okay, frankly speaking, uh, you should immediately, you should, in the first 1 minute, you should put things which are game changers. Okay, we should not put things which are icebreakers. We should put things which are game changers. For example, you start your introduction, and one way of doing it is this is your name, and this is what you have done. This is what my fun. If your cats are not good, don't talk about your GPA upfront. You tell that I've been doing this project, which is a very key project, and this is a business problem we're trying to address, and this was my role. And I am very good at C sharp, for example. I've developed some of the complex routines in C sharp. Okay. And apart from this, I have some additional hobbies. I play some sports and I try to take good care of my health. And by the way, I have two siblings who help me with enhancing. my work-life balance or education life balance, whatever. Okay, since my father comes from a government job background, so I get a good understanding of how, for example, if your father works in power atomic and energy, then you can say that my understanding that I get from my father is how nuclear plants work, how the administration of the nuclear plant is handled, etc. So do not stop saying that my father is a government employee, and he works for Bhabha Atomic Energy. You also relate that since he works for Bhabha Atomic Energy, what have you gained from that knowledge? The last tip I would like to give is how you should make a clear and a crisp communication, which you should have neutral accent. What it means is uh, it does not matter really if you are using plain English, but what I say you should understand, and what you are saying I should be able to understand it. That is point one. Stick to basics first. If you are lucky enough to be coming from an English medium school or a English medium education background, then uh, go full blown on using complex words in English to express yourself. But using complex words should still mean that what you are saying, the interviewer should be able to understand that. The second thing is you should use a neutral accent. What it means is if you are from South India, if you are Telugu, if you are Tamil, if you are from North India, if you are a Punjabi guy, most of the times we have that mother tongue influence in the way we talk English. And you should try to neutralize that. You should not come to know the moment you open your mouth that you are a North Indian, you are a South Indian, you are a Gujarati, you are a Maharashtrian. Okay, you should. So that is something which you should try to work on. Okay, practice in front of mirror. There are a lot of YouTube videos. They produce good content where they try to show how to neutralize your accent. Okay? And your communication should be very crisp. What I mean by that is you should only say things which really matter. That's why I say practice, rehearse, have your script ready. Obviously, during the interview, there might be scenarios where you're taken aback because of some of the impromptu questions where you might need to improvise, but that will be just a small portion of the interview. The majority portion of the interview, you would be well practiced, rehearsed, so that you can take on the interview properly. So, guys, those were the 5 tips. Really, it doesn't matter whether you are in the off campus phase or on campus phase. Just focus on these 5 tips. Rehearse, prepare yourself, know one coding language properly, focus on the project, okay, and keep your communication crisp and clear. So those are the tips. See you in the next video where we will talk about some more tips to help freshers get IT jobs. So these videos I've prepared primarily keeping the Indian college freshers in mind, but this also applies to different countries. US, for example, and UK are probably well ahead, and their students I see they are much more mature when it comes to cracking the interviews. They understand the overall process. It's built in their education DNA.